Hello all the aspirants of TGT English in Haryana. This video is on poetry section part 3. I am going to take Victorian poetry and modern poetry. Victorian poetry was there from 1837 to 1900. Pre-Raphaelite poetry is a part of Victorian poetry from 1848 to 1860, and modern poetry is from 1900 to 1940. So Victorian poetry, pre-Raphaelite poetry and modern poetry, I will take important MCQs on these two major ages of poetry, Victorian poetry and modern poetry. And pre-Raphaelite poetry is a part of Victorian poetry. Okay. Similarly, in modern poetry, you will come to know different poets who were writing in the modern age. Okay, there were different movements like symbolist movement. Okay, war poets, symbolist movement, imagist poets, Georgian poets, Edwardian poets. Okay, they all were writing different type of poems in the modern age. Okay, so before I start my video, I want to give you some hints about modern poetry as well as Victorian poetry. So remember, date of Victorian is 1837 to 1900. Okay, 1837 to 1900, and pre-Raphaelite poetry was written from 1848 to 1860, and modern poetry from 1900 to 1940. If we talk about major poets of Victorian poetry, Lord Alfred Tennyson, Robert Browning, Matthew Arnold, William Morris, and Elizabeth Barrett Browning, wife of Robert Browning. Okay, we will talk about their chief works also. Now, if we talk about chief works of the Victorian age, then we have major poets Alfred Tennyson. Okay, Lord Alfred Tennyson, Lord Alfred Tennyson. Robert Alfred Tennyson wrote Ulysses, In Memoriam, The Princess A Midley. Okay, subtitle is also asked. Remember date of their publication. Mart and other poems. Enoch Arden, Iliads of the King, Charge of the Light Brigade. Okay, this poem is also important. Written about Crimson War. Okay, Pauline Sordello. Okay, Pauline Sordello, Men and Women. These are works of Robert Browning. Then we have Ring and the Book, Fra Lippo Lippi, Dramatic Personae, Last Ride Together, My Last Duchess, Rabbi Ben Ezra, Culture and Anarchy. These are works of Matthew Arnold. Scholar Gypsy is also a work of Matthew Arnold. And then Tiresias A Monody. Okay, this is work of Matthew Arnold. Suhab and Rustam. Dover Beach is important poem of Matthew Arnold. All these poems you must remember. These were written in Victorian age. Okay. Now let's come to pre-Raphaelite. Okay, pre-Raphaelite poetry. Pre-Raphaelite poetry is also known as flashy school of poetry. Okay, or Raphaelite brotherhood. Okay, pre-Raphaelite poetry date 1848 to 1860. Pre-Raphaelite brotherhood, second name, and third name is flashy school of poetry because they dealt with sexual passion very frankly. They dealt with pre-Raphaelite poets like G.D. Rossetti, William Morris, and Swinburne. They dealt with sexual passion very frankly. That is why this school of poetry is also known as flashy school of poetry. This question is also asked. And the gem is their famous magazine. Okay. Now some salient features of pre-Raphaelite poetry. They were against social, moral and spiritual ideas through literature. Okay, they were against Matthew Arnold definition of poetry as criticism of life. Okay, they gave a slogan, art for the art's sake. Okay, then they love to dwell in their own romantic world, and they were inspired by Middle Ages. And most important feature of their poetry is that they were inspired by paintings of painters like Raphael. Okay, and they dealt with sexual passions very frankly, and this school is also known as flashy school of poetry. Now let's talk about modern age. In the modern age we have very important poets like W.B. Yeats. Okay, W.B. Yeats, T.S. Eliot, W.H. Auden, Stephen Spender, Robert Bridges, G.M. Hopkins, Wilfred Owen, Ezra Pound. Okay, then we have war poets like Robert Graves. Okay, Robert Graves. Then poets of 30 like W.H. Auden, Shelley Lewis. Okay, Edwardian poets and Georgian poets. Okay, these are some of the major poets, their important works and their salient features. Okay, we will talk about major writers of this age, their important works and their salient features. Now without wasting time, let's start with first question. But before I conclude this video will be of 25 questions. I want to tell you this is the last video on poetry section. After this work, I want to start with just a common question for TGT English. Okay, question on English grammar. Okay, I want to take this topic because I feel that English grammar is more important even than literature, and these questions will be for all subjects. Okay, like SST, physical education, Hindi. Okay, these grammar based questions will be useful for every subject. Now first question, who is generally regarded as the most representative poet of the Victorian age or of the age of Victorian compromise? तो Victorian age का representative poet कौन है, ठीक है, या फिर विक्टोरियन कंप्रोमाइज़ का पोइट किसको बोला गया है? तो फर्स्ट ऑप्शन इज लॉर्ड अल्फ्रेड टेनिसन, बोर्न इन 1809 एंड डाइड इन 1996. रॉबर्ट ब्राउनिंग, बोर्न इन 1812 एंड डाइड इन 1889. मैथ्यू अर्नल्ड 1822 to 1888, and William Morris, born in 1834 and died in 1896. So Lord Alfred Tennyson is the most representative poet of Victorian age or the poet of Victorian compromise. Here A is the right answer, and answers are at the end. Okay, in the end of the video you will find out the answers of all these questions. Okay, answer of first question is Lord Alfred Tennyson. Okay, in this way you can check the answers. I will not show you the answers again and again because it takes a lot of time. Now question number 2. Which of the following poems of Lord Alfred Tennyson is an elegy on the death of his friend Arthur Henry Hallam? Okay, so this poem is about elegy written by Lord Alfred Tennyson. Okay, first option is Enoch Arden, second is In Memoriam, third is Princes, and fourth is Death of O'Noy. Okay, Death of O'Noy. Here right answer is B answer, In Memoriam. So remember, In Memoriam was written by Lord Alfred Tennyson in the memory of his friend. Okay, and name of his friend was Arthur Henry Hallam, and date of publication, you must remember date of publication also. Sometime questions are there. Okay, elegy is an important topic for all exams, TGT, PGT, UGC net. There are always questions on elegies, different elegies, and I have already told you that I have made a video, separate video on elegies. Okay, watch this video again and again. Definitely you will find one or two questions on this topic. Now question number 3. The Victorian age can be called an age of first, faith, second, doubt, C, both A and B, and third is revolution. So here right answer is Victorian age is called an age of doubt as well as faith. Okay, this is an age of doubt as well as faith. That is why this age is called the age of compromise, Victorian compromise. Now question number 4. Who is known for his poetic excellence in dramatic monologues? तो ड्रामेटिक मोनोलॉग किसने लिखे हैं ज़्यादा? Who became famous for his dramatic monologues? Lord Alfred Tennyson, Robert Browning, Matthew Arnold. D option is William Morris. So I tell you, Lord Alfred Tennyson also wrote many dramatic monologues, but Robert Browning is most famous for writing dramatic monologue. Dramatic monologue is a type of poem. Okay, a poem in which the speaker expresses his thought in the presence of a silent assembly. Okay, it is a type of poem. So in fourth, B is the right answer. Now question number 5. Which of the following dramatic monologue is not written by Robert Browning? Okay, not written by Robert Browning. Last Ride Together, second option, My Last Duchess, third option, A Grammarian Funeral, and fourth is Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock, okay, written in 1917. So the Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock is not written by Robert Browning. All the other 3 poems, The Last Ride Together, लव पोएम है, ये फेमस पोएम है, इसको डिटेल में पढ़ना आप. ओके, पीजीटीज के स्टूडेंट, नेट के स्टूडेंट. माई लास्ट डचेस और ए ग्रामेरियन फनरल्स, ये all these poems you must read in detail for higher level exams like PGT and UGC net. So here in the 5th, D option is the right answer. The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock is written by T.S. Eliot, who is also a major poet of Victorian age. Got Nobel Prize in 1948. Okay, got Nobel Prize in 1948. T.S. Eliot. Okay, he wrote most famous work, The Wasteland, and he has written many poetic dramas. Now question number 6. The age of the Victorian poet against whom the charge of obscurity is often labelled is. तो वो विक्टोरियन पोइट कौन सा है जिसकी पोइट्री पर ऑब्सक्योरिटी का, डिफ़िकल्टी का, ओके, चार्ज लगता है? क्रिस्टीना, जॉर्जिना रूसिटी, सेकंड रॉबर्ट ब्राउनिंग, थर्ड मैथ्यू आर्नल्ड, फोर्थ विलियम मॉरिस. सो as you know, Robert Browning was a great scholar. He had a vast knowledge. Okay, so his learning, okay, his scholarship is often an obstacle when we read his poetry. So charge of obscurity is often labeled against Robert Browning's poetry. Now question number 7. Robert Browning's One Word More is a collection of. One Word More जो रॉबर्ट ब्राउनिंग की पोएम है, ये collection है, a collection of dramatic monologues, lyrics, patriotic refrains, or none of the above. So here B is the correct answer. In 7th, it is a collection of lyrics, not dramatic monologue. Okay, he wrote this poem to give a present to his beloved Elizabeth Barrett Browning. Okay, in question number 7, B is the right answer. I want to show you in the answers. Okay, in the answers 7th, B is the right answer. Now question number 8th. Question number 8th. Who wrote the lines, "O love, let us be true to one another, for the world which seems to lie before us like a land of dreams, so various, so beautiful, so new, hath really neither joy, nor love, nor light, nor certitude, nor peace, no help for the pain. And we are here on a darkling plain, swept with confused alarm of struggle and flight, where ignorant armies clashes by night." So these are famous line of a lyric written by a Victorian poet. Okay, you have to identify the poet. Options are given: Robert Browning, second is Stephen Spender, third is Matthew Arnold, and fourth is William Morris. So here right answer is C. Okay, and the name of this poem, you must remember these are the last lines of Matthew Arnold's lyric Dover Beach. Okay, you must read Dover Beach in detail. Those who are going to appear in PGT exam or in TGT exam. Okay, and student, I want to give you an advice that some famous poems like Daffodil, Dover Beach, On His Blindness, okay, there may be comprehension questions also. Okay, they may give you entire poem and they may ask some questions on these famous poems. Okay, Solitary Reaper, Lucy Gray, okay, or The Word Is Too Much With Us. Okay, these are famous poems, okay, famous pieces of literature, and you must read these poems in detail according to me. Okay, now question number 9. Robert Browning's last ride together is chiefly a Robert Browning's last ride together is chiefly a love poem, second dramatic monologue, third is an optimistic poem, and D is all the above. Okay, this is also a very famous poem by Robert Browning, Last Ride Together. Actually, this poem is a love poem, okay, and it is also a dramatic monologue of Robert Browning, and the poet is very optimistic that his beloved will give her consent to have a ride on a horse, okay, in his company. So these are three basic features of Robert Browning poem. Okay, he is a love poet, he is an optimistic poet also, he wrote different dramatic monologues, and his poems are very obscure. Charge of obscurity is often labeled against Robert Browning's poetry. You must remember this fact. That is why I have included this question in this section of my video. Next question, question number 10. Which of Robert Browning's poem does not which of the Robert Browning poems does begin with, okay, रॉबर्ट ब्राउनिंग की कौन सी पोएम है जो शुरू होती है, दैट इज माई लास्ट डचेस पेंटेड ऑन द वॉल. ओके, सो यू हैव टू आइडेंटिफाई द पोएम हेयर. ऑप्शंस आर ड्रामेटिक पर्सोनी, लास्ट राइड टुगेदर, माई लास्ट डचेस, एंड D is, okay, it is D is Rabbi bin Ezra. Okay, Rabbi bin Ezra. So here my last duchess, that is my last duchess painted on the wall. Okay, this poem is these are the opening line of the poem, my last duchess, written by Robert Browning. Robert Browning shows a picture of his last duchess, okay, painted on the wall. Okay, he shows this picture of his last duchess to the listener. Okay, and he starts his dramatic monologue. This poem is also a dramatic monologue. Next question, question number 11. Who wrote the famous elegy Tiresias, a monody on the death of Arthur Hugh? Okay, so this poem is Tiresias, written by a famous Victorian poet on the death of Arthur Hugh. Options are given like this: Robert Browning, Stephen Spender, third is Robert Matthew Arnold, and fourth is William Morris. Okay, so right answer here is Tiresias is written by Matthew Arnold. Tiresias जो poem है वो मैथ्यू आर्नल्ड की poem है, written on the death of his friend Arthur Hug Klug. Okay, this poem is also very famous poem of the Victorian age, and it is prescribed in different universities for detailed study. Next question, question number 12. Now these are some important question on the Victorian age. Let's begin now. Modern age. Who wrote The Wasteland? Okay, this is famous poem of the modern age. Who wrote The Wasteland? In date of publication is 1922. W.B. Yeats, T.S. Eliot, W.H. Auden, Stephen Spender. So The Wasteland is written by T.S. Eliot. Okay, B is the correct answer. Now question number 13. Tiresias, a blind prophet, is the main protagonist of. ओके जो टेरेशियस एक करेक्टर है जो कि ब्लाइंड है, प्रोपेट है, ओके सूद शायर है, उस वो मेन करेक्टर कौन सी पोएम के अंदर है? दी वेस्टलैंड के अंदर। लव सॉन्ग ऑफ जे एल्फर्ड प्रूफोक ड्रामेटिक मोनोलॉग है टी एस एलियट का। ऐश वेंसडे ये भी टी एस एलियट की पोएम है। और सेलिंग टू बेजेंटियम जो है पोएम 1928 में लिखी गई थी डब्ल्यू बी यीट्स की, तो उसका ये करेक्टर है। तो टेरेशियस इज द मेन प्रोटैगनिस्ट ऑफ नन अदर देन द वेस्टलैंड। ए इज द करेक्ट आंसर इन 13। करेक्ट आंसर इज ए। इन 13 करेक्ट आंसर इज ए। नाउ I want to show you in 13. Okay, A is the correct answer. You have seen it, I think. Now question number 14. When did T.S. Eliot get Nobel Prize? Okay, Nobel Prize. Questions on Nobel Prize are also there. You must remember the complete list of Nobel Prize winner writers. Okay. T.S. Eliot. When did T.S. Eliot get Nobel Prize for Literature? 1913, 1923, 1948 and 1925. So you must remember 1913. In 1913, Indian poet Rabindranath Tagore won Nobel Prize for his Gitanjali. Okay, in 1923, W.B. Yeats won Nobel Prize for Literature. In 1948, T.S. Eliot got Nobel Prize. Okay, Nobel Prize for Literature. So C is the correct answer. And in 1925, I want to give you a hint to the aspirants of PGT English in Haryana, because George Bernard Shaw is also there in your syllabus. In 1925, George Bernard Shaw was given Nobel Prize for Literature. So you must note down these dates. Likewise, 1913 Rabindranath Tagore, 1923 W.B. Yeats, 1953 is also important. In 1953, Winston Churchill, the Prime Minister of the great Prime Minister of Britain, got Nobel Prize for Literature. So Winston Churchill, remember, Winston Churchill is the only Prime Minister of our country to win a Nobel Prize. विंस्टन चर्चिल केवल अकेले ऐसे प्रधानमंत्री हैं किसी भी देश के जिनको नोबेल प्राइज से नवाजा गया. नाउ क्वेश्चन नंबर 15. Who is regarded as the last romantic poet of the modern British poetry? तो लास्ट रोमांटिक पोएट मॉडर्न ब्रिटिश पोइट्री के कौन हुए हैं? W.B. Yeats, T.S. Eliot, W.H. Auden और स्टीफन स्पेंडर. सो here A is the right answer. W.B. Yeats is often regarded as the last romantics. Okay, last romantics बोला गया है उनको. Now question number 16. 16. Who among the following is or are regarded or considered as the war poets of modern British poetry? मॉडर्न ब्रिटिश पोइट्री के जो वॉर पोइट्स हुए हैं उनमें से कौन हुए हैं? रॉबर्ट ब्रूक, रॉबर्ट ग्रेव, रॉबर्ट निकोलस या जूलियन ग्रीनफेल सोरले, विल्फर्ड ओवन एंड सिगफ्रिड सेसून, और ऑल द अबव? सो here the right answer is D. Robert Grave, Robert Brooke, Robert Nicholas, Wilfred Owen, Siegfried Sassoon, Julian Greenfell, Sorley, all were war poets. Okay, they wrote about war. Okay, they were against war. Some of them fought different battles. Okay, and many of them were killed during war. Okay, so war poetry, you know, world war first was there from 1914 to 1918. Okay, 1918. तो जो फर्स्ट वर्ल्ड वार था 1914 से 1918 तक था, तो वॉर पोइट्स जो कि वॉर के बिल्कुल अगेंस्ट थे उन्होंने पोएम्स लिखी। और वॉर पोइट्स आपको याद रखने चाहिए कौन से थे? रॉबर्ट ब्रूक, रॉबर्ट ग्रेव्स, रॉबर्ट निकोलस, विल्फर्ड ओवन, सिगफ्रिड सेसून, जुलियन ग्रीनफेल सोरले. Now next question number 17. W.H. Auden, Cille D. Lewis, Stephen Spender and Louis McNee are often called as, तो जो ये पोइट हैं इनको किस तरह से जाना जाता है ब्रिटिश लिटरेचर की हिस्ट्री के अंदर? Yes, I want to read it again. Who among the following is or are considered as war poets? That we have done. Question number 17. W.H. Auden, Cille D. Lewis, Stephen Spender and Louis McNee are often termed as poets of 30s, left-wing poets, or the Marxist poet, or all the above. So they all are called the poets of 30 or left-wing poets and Marxist poets also. So here D is the right answer. W.H. Auden, Cille D. Lewis, Stephen Spender and Lewis McNee. Okay, इनको poets of 30 बोला जाता है या लेफ्ट विंग राइटर्स भी बोला जाता है. नाउ क्वेश्चन नंबर 18th. When did Great Depression take place in Europe? यूरोप के अंदर जो ग्रेट डिप्रेशन फॉल इन स्टॉक मार्केट आया था वो कब आया था? 1920s के अंदर, 1930s के अंदर, 1940s के अंदर या 1950s के अंदर? सो हेयर राइट आंसर इज 1930s के अंदर. और ये 29 के अंदर, 1929 के अंदर है वो शुरू हुआ था ग्रेट डिप्रेशन. एंड द पोइट्स लाइक W.H. Auden, Stephen Spender, they wrote many poems about this period of British history. Next question, question number 19. Who called W.B. Yeats silly and quotes poetry makes nothing happen in his poem in the memory of W.B. Yeats? तो जब when William Butler Yeats died in 1939, जब विलियम बटलर यीट्स की मृत्यु हुई थी 1939 के अंदर, तो एलिजी लिखी थी एक पोइट ने जिसके अंदर उन्होंने W.B. यीट्स को सिल्ली कहा था और बोला था कि पोइट्री मेक्स नथिंग हैपन, कि पोइट्री से कुछ नहीं हो सकता. तो वो कौन से पोइट थे? ए ऑप्शन इज रॉबर्ट ब्रूक, बी इज रॉबर्ट ग्रेव, सी इज रॉबर्ट निकोलस, थर्ड इज W.H. Auden. तो मैंने आपको बोला कि कुछ चीज़ें हैं ना वो आपको बड़े क्लेवरली ध्यान रखनी चाहिए. क्रोनोलॉजी इज़ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. क्रमवार चीज़ों को याद रखना बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. आई टोल्ड यू रॉबर्ट ब्रूक, रॉबर्ट ग्रे, रॉबर्ट निकोलस डाइड ड्यूरिंग दी वर्ल्ड वॉर. ड्यूरिंग दी फर्स्ट वर्ल्ड वॉर. इनकी तो मौत ही पहले हो चुकी थी. जब विलियम बटलर यीट्स की मृत्यु है वो 1939 की हुई थी. ठीक है। 1939 के अंदर डेथ हुई थी W.B. यीट्स की। तो फिर ये एलिजी कैसे लिख सकते हैं उसकी मृत्यु पर, मरने के बाद। ओके, सो हेयर राइट आंसर इज W.H. Auden, and this is also very important poem in the memory of W. Yeats is also very important poem by W.H. Auden. Okay, read this poem in detail, you will enjoy it definitely. Those who are appearing for PGT and preparing for NET as well. Okay, those who are appearing for PGTs, they also watch this video. Okay, but those who are preparing for UGC NET, okay, these are basic questions. If they are beginners, this video will definitely help them to understand a thorough understanding of different poets, their chief works, and their chief characteristics of their work. Now question number 20th. Which poem by W.B. Yeats is a metaphor for a spiritual journey written in 4 stanzas of ओटावा रिमा। ओके, ओटावा रिमा 4 ओटावा रिमाज हैं और उसके अंदर स्पिरिचुअल जर्नी की बात हो रही है W.B. यीट्स की पोएम के अंदर। तो कौन सी पोएम है? अमंग स्कूल चिल्ड्रन है, ए प्रेयर फॉर माई डॉटर है, द टावर है, या सेलिंग टू बेजेंटियम है। तो ये सारी पोएम है वो W.B. यीट्स की इंपॉर्टेंट पोएम है, और you must read this poem in detail if you are preparing for UGC NET exam. Okay, because these all are very important. Questions are there, definitely questions are there about their main theme or about their date of publication or the main substance of this poem. Here the answer is sailing to Byzantium is about the poet's spiritual journey to a place known as Byzantium. Now question number 21. When Are You Old is When Are You Old is addressed to W.B. Yeats. जो When Are You Old poem है वो W.B. Yeats ने किसको address किया है? His wife, his beloved, not gone, his sister या his daughters. So here B is the right answer. When You Are Old is addressed to W.B. Yeats poem, W.B. Yeats beloved, mad gone, okay, whom he proposed 3 times in his life. Okay, but all time the reaction was in negative. Okay, W.B. Yeats also wrote a poem about for his daughter. Okay, a prayer for my daughter. Okay, remember this thing is also there in exams. Now question number 22nd. What is the correct order of 5 sections of the poem The Wasteland written by T.S. Eliot? T.S. Eliot की पोएम है वेस्टलैंड, उसके 5 सेक्शंस हैं, उसका करेक्ट ऑर्डर क्या है? फर्स्ट ऑप्शन इज ब्यूरेल ऑफ द डेड, ए गेम ऑफ चेस, द फायर सरमन, डेथ बाय वाटर, एंड व्हाट द थंडर सैड. बी ऑप्शन इज ए गेम ऑफ चेस, द फायर सरमन, डेथ बाय वाटर, व्हाट द थंडर सैड, एंड ब्यूरेल ऑफ द डेड. सी ऑप्शन इज ब्यूरेल ऑफ द डेड, द फायर सरमन, डेथ बाय वाटर, व्हाट द थंडर सैड, एंड a game of chess. D option is the burial of the dead, a game of chess, death by water, what the thunder sat, and a fire sermon. So here A is the right answer. The right order of the books is a burial of the dead first, second section is known as a game of chess, third section is a fire sermon, fourth section is death by water, and last section is what the thunder said, in which there is the moral lesson given by T.S. Eliot. Okay, the moral of the poem is given in the last section, what the thunder said. Now question number 23. When did W.B. Yeats get Nobel Prize for Literature? W.B. Yeats को Nobel Prize Literature में कब मिला? 1953, okay, या 1925. Okay, 1920, here it is 25. Now 1948 and 1907. Okay, I will tell you these dates are all very important. 1953, Winston Churchill, the only prime minister of a country to win a Nobel Prize and prime minister of Britain. 1925, W.B. Yeats. Okay, 1948, T.S. Eliot, and 1907 Rudyard Kipling. Okay, the first British author to win a Nobel Prize, Rudyard Kipling, in 1907. These are all very important dates. Okay, and those who are preparing for UGC NET, they must learn all the authors years when they win Nobel Prize. Now question number 24, who had brought the symbolist movement from France to England? जो symbolist movement थी, literature की symbols use करते थे writers, poets, तो वो फ्रांस से इंग्लैंड कौन लेके आया था? W.B. Yeats, T.S. Eliot, W.H. Auden और Stephen Spender. So here A is the right answer. W.B. Yeats brought symbolist movement from France to England. Now second last question of today's video. Who among the following poets between 1912 to 1917 wrote short lyrics inspired by Japanese haiku and Greek lyrics popularly known as imagist poet? तो imagist poets जो 1912 से 1917 के बीच में फेमस हुए थे, वो कौन से पोइट थे? एजरा पाउंड, एमी लोवेल, T.E. Hlume, and all the above. So here D is the right answer. Ezra Pound, Amy Lowell, T.E. Hlume, okay, they are called imagist poet of 1912 to 1917. Okay, now last question. So you must read about imagism also. Imagism is also a very popular मूवमेंट. इनको आपको डिटेल में पढ़ना होगा. इमेजिज्म या इमेजिस्ट पोएट, ओके, वॉर पोएट्स, जॉर्जियन पोएट्स, देन एडवर्डियन पोएट्स, ओके, प्री रेफ्टलाइट पोएट्स. जो भी वर्ड्स आ रहे हैं पीजीटीज या कोई भी दूसरा पीजीटीज दूसरी स्टेट के अंदर पीजीटी का एग्ज़ाम प्रिपेयर करना चाहता है तो उसको ये चीज़ें डिटेल में जाननी होंगी. ओके, बिकॉज for TGT exam only surface level things are required. For PGT exam, okay, deep studies required, and for UGC NET, okay, they must have the deepest knowledge of literature. Now next question, who defined poetry as criticism of life under the condition fixed for such criticism बाय लॉ ऑफ पोइट्रिक ट्रूथ एंड पोइटिक ब्यूटी? सो ये जो डेफिनेशन पोइट्री की दी थी, वैसे बता देता हूँ. दिस डेफिनेशन ऑफ पोइट्री वॉज गिवन इन एन एसे बाय विक्टोरियन पोएट, स्टडी ऑफ पोइट्री. ओके, स्टडी ऑफ पोइट्री में दी गई थी ये डेफिनेशन. ये क्वेश्चन ऐसे भी आ सकता है, हु रोट स्टडी ऑफ पोइट्री? ओके, सो आंसर इज लॉर्ड एल्फ्रेड टेनिसन, मैथ्यू आर्नल्ड, W.H. ऑडन और स्टीफन स्पेंडर. तो ये डेफिनेशन जो पोइट्री की दी गई थी, ये मैथ्यू आर्नल्ड के द्वारा दी गई थी. ओके, पोइट्री इज़ क्रिटिसिज्म ऑफ लाइफ अंडर द कंडीशन फिक्स फॉर सच क्रिटिसिज्म बाय लॉज ऑफ पोइट्रिक ट्रूथ एंड पोइटिक ब्यूटी. सो दीज आर मोस्ट इम्पोर्टेंट क्वेश्चंस. ओके, very important MCQs on literature, Victorian age literature, Victorian age poetry and modern poetry. I hope that my video will definitely give you very vital information. Okay, it will definitely help you. So I have covered all the literature, short story, novel, then 3 videos on poetry. If you have not watched these 3 videos, all are MCQ based for TGT Haryana aspirants. Watch these videos. Okay, in the coming videos I will take grammar section. Okay, rest of the grammar. Okay, definitely it will be very useful, and I will take that part of grammar which is useful for all subjects like SST, physical education, okay, drawing teachers, then science, TGT science, TGT mathematics. Okay, common English I want to take. Okay, my next video will be there in 3-4 days, coming 3-4 days. Till then, bye bye and have a nice day.